Popcorn therapy. 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 Popcorn therapy.
Welcome to Popcorn Therapy. I'm James Pillion.
I'm Kane Sanders.
And this is episode 11. And mate,
11.
We've got a very special Dinky Die guest all the way from the City of Angels, Rhys Wakefield, man.
My boy.
You're my boy, Rhys.
You're my boy, Blue. You're my boy. Look, man, I've known Rhys for years. One of my closest friends. I was very kind of grateful to. I mean, I often think that he's one of the best things that kind of came out of me making my first film, Echoes of War, and what was initially a very professional relationship just turned into a kind of friendship after that.
And you know, if you just look at his professional career from Echoes of War on. It's just so exciting to see this guy just diving headfirst into some really interesting territory.
He was on this kind of track where they were sending him in for everything and all like the bigger stuff. And I think there was a time there, and I don't think he'd have an issue with me saying this, but he just really didn't want to just do anything. He didn't want to just do anything for the sake of making money or making his agent happy or furthering his career or whatever. I mean, he obviously wanted those things, but he waited, and he's that kind of guy where he's turned down a lot of stuff, and he cares about what he does say yes to. I think that's taken him on kind of a winding path, and he's obviously now kind of writing and directing his own stuff too.
What we sort of jump right into, and which Kane was just watching last night, is his performance in season 3 of True Detective. When I saw it, because I remember binging that series last year and just being like, man, fuck yeah, Rhys. Like, what an interesting role and what an amazing series. And I just love, after hearing what you were saying about him, sort of being picky with what he wants to be a part of. And it's just so nice that it's starting to really work in his favor, that he's now getting, the kind of projects that man, I mean, that's premium. That's like that's HBO, baby. That's top of the line.
And now Hulu with
his
new show Reprisal.
This is part of the reason we were lucky enough to chat with him. Is his new show Reprisal, which is a Showtime original, is debuting in Australia on the 22nd of April. I've only seen the trailer, which you can all watch on YouTube right now, but it's fucking really, it looks like just a real interesting world build of a show. Like, just
it's a world, it's a vision.
It's a real vision,
it's heightened reality,
set in like a kind of alternative future, dystopic idea of America. Well,
so in general, how have you been since the last time we spoke? How's things in your world?
Man, good. I've found that by diving headfirst into the work and keeping myself busy, I've started to just see how beautiful this time is, as sad as it is.
Yeah,
That.
Well, there's got to be a silver lining.
There's got to be a silver lining, and
everything,
guys. The silver lining is this is the first time in my lifetime, and I believe your lifetime too, Kane, where like everything is just shut down. Like literally, the world is shut down. No one's flying, no one's traveling, no one can leave their house. So what can we do? Well, we can be nice to each other. We can call our friends. Spend, time on Zoom or FaceTime with our grandparents, loved ones, friends that we haven't seen that live across the world. I think that's really exciting, man.
Do you think that'll go away? Like, do you think even when we return to a different world, like as in things are open again, but things have obviously changed because a lot of kind of businesses are going to change and a lot of social practices will change, at least for a while. And we're not going to get a vaccine for another 18 months. So think about that. Like, even if they start opening shit up again, it's not going to go away for like our way of life. It might not be a lockdown, but our way of life is changed for at least the next 18 months.
True.
So do you feel that all that beauty that comes of it, that kind of like connecting with people, checking in with people, feeling more motivated just to get on the phone with someone than we did before, because we were on the treadmill of our own lives,
Yes, we
right?
were.
Do you think that'll brush off on us a little bit, or do you think eventually it'll go back to business as usual?
I can only really speak for myself, and what this has helped remind me is, just reflecting on this time last year and how much I was traveling and doing things, and there were parties and getting out and birthdays and all kinds of things. Well, I was just really, really busy, as you said, on the treadmill of life. And so I'm definitely getting back out there, man. You know me, I'm a bit of a cowboy as it is.
It's going to be a bender. It's going to be like a fucking 5-day, like, can't get on to James. He hasn't come home. His parents are asking about him.
Have you seen this man?
There's posters all around town, but he's just down at the local whiskey bar, just getting sauced.
Having a great time. Man, come on, as a dinky die, man, isn't it tragic that we can't even have a beer down the pub? I just think that on its own is a travesty.
Well, it's a travesty, but it's beautiful in the sense that even those little things you take for granted.
Yes, you
and
do.
You kind of realize,
can I just shout out Nick Cave, who we both love, one of the most incredible Australian creative personalities. A musician, a writer.
Very underrated, I think.
Incredibly underrated. And he has a newsletter, the Red Hand Files. It's a really beautiful thing. This week, he was answering questions. So essentially, people ask him questions from around the world, and he puts 2 or 3 of them together and then puts a little treatise, like a little essay together on answering it as he sees it. And this one was about Bob Dylan's latest song. So it's this 16, 17-minute song on the early 60s and specifically JFK's assassination. And it's really like a really wild song. I only listened to it yesterday. One of the questions was essentially posed around what if this is the last time we ever hear this genius's voice?
Right. Why would it be the last time?
Well, just that, he's getting older. And nothing lasts forever. In response to this question, one thing that we can all learn to be better at is to look at everything as if it was the last time. What if this is the last time you and I get to talk to each other? What if this is the last time I ever have dinner with my significant other, the love of my life? What if this is the last time I get to read a story to my children? What if this is the last time I get to see a sunrise? And I just think if we can learn to look at life just a little bit, even 1-2% of that, I think we'll all learn to just be a little more grateful for the people, even the people that drive us up the wall.
I mean, I think gratitude is probably universally the thing that we're all lacking.
Yes.
If you were going to nominate one thing where if you could just turn the dial up on that a little bit, just kind of take a gratitude pill, it would probably improve, well, it would no doubt improve all of our lives. It seems like that thought came to you naturally. It wasn't like you sat down and you were like, I got to be more grateful. I'm gonna do like a yes man, and I'm gonna be grateful for everything that comes my way. Because
as I've kind of shared before, meditation has really helped me tap into that reflective part of me. I'm just being like, man, what am I bitching about? I got my health. I can see, I can smell, I can taste and touch. These are just things that we take for granted. So just the ability to feel a breeze on a hot day or see a beautiful sunrise or sunset, those moments are beautiful on their own. And come on, let's be honest. Now that we can't go down to the pub, now that we can't go to the nightclub, those things we're starting to appreciate just a little more. Never before has the sky looked so clear in any of our big cities. Just that alone is something to celebrate.
Look,
all right,
that's the one.
I think we need to wrap this up so we can get to the best part of this episode. And I'm excited for you guys to hear this chat. And I think it just, for anyone that has ever thought about moving to LA, who lives in LA or has lived in LA, but has a dream of getting there and diving into their dreams. This is a really interesting chat of someone that has been there for a decade, and he's continues just to, I don't know. He's like a a Rolling Stone, man. He's just gathering all that. Well, he's gathering no moss.
Gathering no moss.
I don't know. I don't even know where I was going with that
He's
one.
just, well, I thought it was a nice tie-in to the Bob analogy. He's
Oh
doing
my
a
God.
16, 17 minute kind of roll down the hill, gathering no moss, and
you
figuring it out as he goes. He's a tambourine man in his own life.
There you go.
He's sitting there playing that little tambourine,
Yeah.
and seeing where it takes him.
Mr. Tambourine
That's pretty
Man.
cool. Mr. Tambourine Man.
Well, stay safe out
all right.
there. Stay inside. And until next time.
Dude, I just wanted to tell you. So I watched the first 2 episodes of True Detective just last night. Dude,
Nice.
forgot how much that show fucks me up. Like, I was scared shitless after watching it. It's so weird. Like,
Dark,
It's really
just,
dark.
Yeah, it just fucking sticks with you. But the first season was like that. I just found myself like I watched it and then I went to bed and then I had to go to the bathroom and I had to like turn all the lights on in the house.
Yeah,
really is
it
like a
gets
horror,
under your
isn't it?
skin.
Where did you guys shoot? Was it all on location or?
It was. I mean, we had sound stages, but the sound stages were basically by the location. We were shooting in Fayetteville, Arkansas. So it
Whoa.
was. It was fairly rural, the areas where we were shooting. So, it was a lot of transportation to get to these fairly obscure parts of America that haven't really been photographed that much, which I think is, such a huge part of that show. The location,
Yeah.
True Detective's location, always like the South in that first season was just so frightening and
It was kind
scary.
of gothic as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, it had this very gothic vibe.
Yeah.
So you shot where it was set? Because it's set
Yeah,
in
we did,
in
yeah.
Lafayette, isn't it?
Nic Pizzolatto, the creator, the writer, he went to college around there, I believe.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
So he
I
actually
might
knows
be
the
mistaken,
state.
but I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
fuck.
Dude, it was pretty funny seeing you play a high schooler still.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, it's hilarious.
Can you
It
just
kind of
remind me
still works.
because I watched the season last year and I just fucking loved it. It just really just knocked me
Oh,
for
right
six.
on.
But
Nice.
but I just wanted to know a little more about working with Nic, man, because I really love, now that you're just talking about how you guys shot on location, like that he's just celebrating these kind of overlooked landscapes, like
Totally.
even I remember reading his first novel, Galveston. And I still haven't been to Galveston, Texas, but I fucking want to go just because of
Right.
the way he wrote about it. It's
No,
beautiful.
I agree. Yeah, the way that he illuminates these sort of forgotten spaces and that have been forgotten by time as well. It's it's a special gift. I think that's maybe his voice, bringing to life believable characters and settings like that. And I really, really enjoyed working with Nic. I mean, I was able to work with him for he had his directorial debut on the show, and
wow.
which were a couple of the
Sick.
episodes that he directed toward the later end of the season. And I loved working with him. I think he's a really talented director. He has such a toolkit. He's obviously in touch with people's emotions or the human condition, but he has such a vocabulary to help you access what he wants.
Dude, how about those scenes with freaking Mahershala Ali? Like, just
man.
that dude, he's like, his eyes have got like his soul's in his eyes, and he just kind of like peers through the screen at you.
Yeah, he's amazing.
And was he? What was that? What was that like? The scenes that you had with him? Because I've obviously only watched the first 2, but you've already had that the first interview scene that you have with both of them.
Right.
That's the only thing I've seen thus far. But even that, I was just like, "Fuck, this is sick!" Like, I love Stephen Dorff. He's like one of my favorite old school actors.
I'm a huge fan of both of those actors. I think that I mean, when we were in the table reads for it, I was shitting myself. I really was. I thought that I was just gonna they were gonna realize they'd hired some shit actor and it was me, and they were gonna
We got the
get
wrong
him out of
guy.
there. We've got these.
The ruse
exactly.
is up. The ruse is up. Imposter syndrome.
Yeah, he's fucking everything. Yeah, it's the imposter syndrome. Exactly, that's it.
That never goes away, huh?
I'm not in my experience so far. maybe someone feels like they really belong in what they're doing, but not I. And I was exhausted there. It was just like tiring, the adrenaline, you know.
Wow.
But they're amazing. They were incredible to work with. Mahershala Ali is such a grounded and gifted artist. You know, the way he approaches his work is from so many angles, and he's incredibly disciplined and controlled. You know, that's a show where you're not allowed to change a comma,
wow.
any grammar, a single word. You know, everything is verbatim the text, which I love. I think control is great on a set if that's what the tone, you know, is what's intended. So he's amazing. He said some really kind words to me, and I think, you know, when you work with an actor who you admire and respect, and when you feel as though they see a mutual respect, it's so energizing. I loved him. He was amazing.
How have you been, man? How's
it going?
How's life in COVID-19 world?
Yeah, COVID-19 world. It's pretty surreal, isn't it? I mean,
it's like a planet. We're going to COVID-19.
It is initiating COVID-19 status. I mean, I think the whole thing is, it's different, isn't it? I mean, I think, I don't know what to make of it. We're all in it together, which is different as well. There's something unique about that. I mean, my heart goes out to people that are directly being affected by it, or people who are also working on the front lines of this viral war, I suppose.
Oh man, I mean, they're like true heroes, aren't they? I mean,
seriously,
and heroines, you know, fuck.
What's your life been like? Like, I mean, are you just like, you able to keep working on things from home? And
well, we've been in quarantine. Well, we've been sort of in lockdown for the last, I think, 4 weeks now, and there's another month to go. And I've just been taking advantage of the time to write. I've been doing sort of final rewrites and touches on a project that we're hoping to record during this time with a company called Q Code, this podcast that's like it'll read like a radio play.
Shit.
Yeah, it's cool. I'm really excited about it just because it's a science fiction. It's about a lost spacecraft that comes returning back to Earth unannounced many years after it's been missing. So it's really fun. It starts small, goes to a really deep sci-fi space, and we're hoping to take advantage of the time and record it like you guys are, you know.
Dude, this could almost be like that Orson Welles, you know, like people are listening to this being like,
God, that's the
happening.
idea. I mean, it takes huge inspiration from that, the War of the Worlds idea.
War of the Worlds, that's it.
Yeah, we're in such a fake news, mad hypocrisy world right now.
Man, well, all the best with it. But,
Thank
you know,
you.
if you see the president tweeting about it, man, you know you've made it.
We've done a real H.G. Wells on him. If only.
What is it like being an Aussie boy living in that kind of world? You know, obviously I'm assuming, you know, you don't actively seek it out, but when I lived in LA, like, you can't help but see news reports and whatever. And, you know, this is before the age of Trump. And is that what is that like?
It's a lot. Like, it's a little bit disillusioning because I think he represents a lot of you know, his rhetoric is quite hateful. You know, it's not inclusive. It's not really respectful to the lesser members of society. He really downtrods those individuals, which is upsetting to me. And what upset me most was not understanding how that could happen. You know, how could people vote someone like that in, who is so clearly has bad intent or is not a good leader? But I just think
a bad hombre, man.
Yeah,
he's a bad hombre.
He's not a good. He's not a good
No
man.
bueno.
Yeah, and he's no bueno. I mean, when you travel around America, though, you meet just so many amazing people who are really inclusive, and actually, I don't think represent anything that he publicly stands for or represents. And so, I think he is an absolute misrepresentation of this country, actually. And he does a really bad job of perpetuating that. Of, you know, showing the weaknesses and the cracks of this country. He just stands to illuminate what he's trying to fix. Anyway, that's my rant. But
I love that, man. That that is so true, man.
How have you felt, Rhys, as like a writer and a creator and like a kind of generator of stories in this post-Trump world? Like, as in, has it shaped the way you conceive of stories?
It's interesting you say that, because I've just been trying to crack a new idea on a new screenplay that I'm starting to write, and you do go over old notes, and these notes that you know, any sort of idea or concept that is end of the world based, or you know, a euphoric society, or a cli-fi fiction, you know, climate change has destroyed the world. It suddenly all feels very tropey and not that original because we're suddenly living it. So there is something strange about that. There's a kind of absurdism that maybe comes with experiencing what we were previously writing about. So I don't know. Yes, I would say it definitely shifts your voice because, I mean, you have to be responding to the zeitgeist in some way. Whether I'm aware of how it's shifting it or not right now, I'm not sure, except I have noticed that my stories, it's often about sort of denial of truth from a government level, and how the people permeate that, or how do we overcome that and gain that information as our own.
If you just comment on what you're seeing, it's almost like a trope. It's too easy. It's because what's going on is stranger than fiction.
Yeah.
So how
do you find the metaphor that's not the thing? Yeah.
I don't know, or maybe we won't be able to until he's been out of office for 10 years and the dust is kind of settled, and we've seen what that imprint has been on the country. I mean, we might not know that for decades, but it's so interesting. You go back to like the 70s and 80s and all the films that came out about kind of Vietnam, and all those directors like the Oliver Stones, and even all the way down, like just it informs so much of the tone of film for like 10 plus years after that.
It's so funny because I feel like the one thing that is kind of exciting about this really terrifying time that we're living in is that it does bring people together, you know, knowing like we don't want this to be the legacy. We want to stand for something different. We want to unite in the face of this kind of evil, this kind of voice that is trying to rally the worst in us, you know, like bring our fears to the surface. That's what I've been seeing, and you're seeing it in so many different types of films and, you know, all kinds of creative projects. So I think that's something that is exciting.
We never had. It's kind of like how Brad Pitt, when Tyler Durden goes like, we're the middle children of history, like we don't have a great war, like our great war is our lives, right? And it's interesting that now we're actually seeing a shift out of that. Like our generation is now actually seeing that we actually have a lot to fight.
Yes, we're officially post that kind of I don't know, consumerism, boredom, over purchasing, nihilism society that, you know, found themselves to be the only reality to exist because there was, I don't know, everything else felt too abstract. Everything was moving so fast. This definitely like feels like a globally perspective altering moment. And there are a few moments in history that have probably done that. I agree. I mean, I remember I love one of my favorite documentaries is the Woodstock documentary, you know, 3 days of music, peace and love. And it's excellent, you guys. Awesome. Just the footage, the faces, you see all these people.
I saw the 4-hour cut at the Hayden Cremorne Orpheum on the massive screen like a few months back.
Awesome, dude. That's sick.
So
on a big
fun.
screen.
Yeah,
sick. It's just so amazing to see their faces, I think. Or like to put a face to a generation that was feeling vitriol, feeling anger toward a unified or a common enemy, you know, which was this politicized war. So I think it's really interesting for us to suddenly find ourselves as a generation in the thick of something. What it is, I don't know, but it's something global, and it's something that we're all experiencing, which is crazy. And we also experienced the global financial crisis at a very, very pertinent moment in our lives when we were becoming adult, you know, our first independent adult status. So we have sort of been, as a generation, quite screwed, I think. I mean, this...
it was looking good for a while.
It was looking good for a while.
It was coming up Millhouse.
Yeah, it was all coming up Millhouse.
Dude, you're like the world's biggest Simpsons fan, or at least the biggest one that I know.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I loved it. I love it. I mean, I still watch it sometimes.
Rhys,
it's quite good.
It was so funny. There's this great DGA podcast with Leigh Whannell in conversation for The Invisible Man. I was so proud to be Australian in this moment. Like, he'd shown up like after having like a few too many margaritas down the road. And admits it. He's like, you know what? That's part of the reason I wanted to do this is I could have a few drinks with the crew.
Well, because they hadn't seen his crew, yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
And then he's like just referencing The Simpsons in an answer, and I'm like, this is the shit. Like, this is amazing.
That's really sick. Leigh Whannell referencing The Simpsons. I love that. That's cool.
Man.
I don't know, man. I often think like this must be a great time just for like the stimulation in your brain with technology is moving faster than we are, obviously.
Right. It is pretty nuts. I mean, I love that you said that because, yeah, I mean, I find it really interesting to see how this is going to revolutionize or rev up the robotic industry. You know, already artificial intelligence is looking like a very viable part of the resolution to the coronavirus and future pandemics. You know, there's already a supercomputer that was developed after the SARS virus that was using flight data, global flight data, to predict where viral outbreaks would occur. And apparently it had like an 80 to 85% success rate of predicting where coronavirus was going to next break out based only on flight data. So if governments were able to give those companies supercomputers, AI tech like that, the ability to, you know, render through all of this information and apply it, that would be amazing. That would be a viable solution. Not to mention, you could also put the same computer to researching, you know, thousands of different compounds that could be bound together as a possible antidote or vaccine. So they can sort of do that rapidly. So I'm excited for all of that. I think that's going to change our lives. I think virtual reality and augmented reality is going to become a part of our lives because we all are now living more virtually. So that needs to become a thing. And we'll probably all have some sort of Android tech much sooner than we ever would have pre this. That's my opinion.
Dude,
I mean, it's my science fiction-y thing.
I mean, I might be really behind the eight ball here. So I watched your directorial debut, Berserk, this week, which is fucking awesome, man.
Thanks for watching it.
But I was like, dude, look at all this technology. Like all of these things that I was like, I'd love to have some of these things in my home. Like the sensor, like the talking, you could talk to the speaker.
Right, like kind of a smart house.
So, but were they things that you were very much focused on, like even the drone and like just that kind of use of technology within the story, within the plot?
Yeah, I think so much of the way our stories in life do unfold now are so reliant on technology. I mean, the way I get so much information, that does change my entire mood. Does sort of come through, it's usually funneled through some kind of a device. Right. And, you know, bad information, good information often comes through my phone or through social media. So there was an element of that I liked. I like this idea of feeling in control of your tech and then what happens when it starts to sort of go awry as a device to, you know, as the third act is becoming more chaotic, it was kind of a device to feel like there was a sense of control being lost through this tech.
Yes.
That was otherwise so part of us.
So your film was really kind of like the origin story to like Skynet and Terminator 2.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because he does actually, the computer, I love that you asked that. The computer that he references in the movie is called Sora, and Sora is derivative of Sky, and Sky is a reference to Skynet.
Oh,
so
shit.
There is that, yeah.
So,
and Sora will be a tech that's existing in all my movies.
Dude,
this is kind of what I love about how Rhys writes. He comes up with this like tech world that mirrors ours, but it's fictionalized, right?
So, well, let's just strip it back a little further, like for anyone that hasn't seen it. So, can you talk to us a little more about the underlying storyline, like some of the sort of primary motivations for you, but what really the story represents to you?
Yeah, so for those who don't know, I wrote and directed a movie called Berserk, which came out in American theaters last year, which was very exciting for me.
Congratulations, man. That's fucking so cool.
No, thank you. Yeah, it was wild. I really just didn't anticipate a theatrical release. You know, I sort of just thought at this point it would be on demand. So that was awesome. And the movie is about two characters who make this realization that they've never felt fear in the midst of completing this screenplay that's been boggling their mind for some time. And so over the course of this night, they set out to trick each other into feeling it. So things go awry. They accidentally murder a friend of theirs, and then they have to cover up the body and cover up their tracks, all whilst a scorned ex-lover arrives and a police officer arrives. So the night goes from crazy to crazier to craziest, which is how I feel about LA. I think LA.
Oh my God. I want to talk to you about that. I got to
Yeah,
talk to you about
it's a really wild place. And just when you think you've experienced the most wild part, it's like, oh, no, we can up this to wildest.
Just that line in the script, and I thought he nailed it. Of just, he comes in and he's a policeman and he's like, I'm also an actor, and it's like that shit is so LA. Like yes, that is so. I was like, that's
fucking actor.
Everyone's a fucking actor.
It undermines everyone. Everyone, like, suddenly you're like, oh my God, you're the police officer who's investigating something very serious. You're an actor. God.
Yep. Hey, can I just quickly also just shout out?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, Kane. Man, that opening shot of you in the pool, I just was like Sunset Boulevard. I don't know if that was what you were going for.
100%.
I was like,
my ode.
Billy Wilder, yum. Like, that is
Yum.
great. I love that.
Dude.
Yeah.
Yes, I love you for saying that, man. My DP, Mac Biskin, he's just a legend. He's such a champion. We were geeking out about drones because there's this drone character, and you can have drone footage. So how do we sort of meld that device, like where it's the drone's perspective as the character versus the cinematic perspective? And it was his idea to, like, what if we just started spinning the camera toward the end, then we can just reverse it and sort of have this, like, really sick, powerful version of Sunset Boulevard. It's our modern version of exactly that. I'm so glad you got it. Yeah, Billy Wilder, delicious. That image of him, like, floating in the pool with all the police, like, that beautiful image. Right. Oh, I love that.
It's like an LA noir kind of staple, right? It's like a film noir in LA, and like kind of like the gangster days, but kind of modernizing it.
Man, my favorite story from that, I don't know all the key characters' names, but Billy Wilder had a screening of it. I think it was Paramount that released it. I could be wrong. And the whoever was running Paramount confronted him afterwards, like, shame on you, Billy. Like, how could you make such a dark portrait of Hollywood? And Billy was just like, fuck you. Like,
whoa,
that was he was just like,
awesome.
Fuck you, man. Like,
that's
you
amazing.
Me? Like, this is Hollywood.
That is like, Hollywood. Yeah. It's horrible. It's like, it's all
so
just
dark.
Painted over. Yeah, it's so dark. It's so dark. And what's so great about that movie is it takes you a second to realize it's hysterical. It's actually so funny.
It's really
she's
funny.
Just when he first meets her in her house, she's just lost her pet monkey, and we're now, like, this inciting incident essentially is he's gonna replace her pet monkey. I mean, it's fucking great. I love it. And then he, of course, he becomes her pet monkey. He's asking for money. He's just this tragic figure that she's allowed to wither away, to corrode away.
And can we just get this out in the open? That is definitely how Hollywood sees screenwriters. They're just monkeys.
100%.
Right.
Oh, 100%.
That's like the metaphor.
I've been on sets before, and people have been like, I said a line of someone else's dialogue, and someone's like, oh, was that was funny? That, like, was that improvised? You're like, no, the writer wrote it. Like, it's just the writers. People just forget that, like, everyone forgets that's where it all comes from. The whole original idea is this. Right, the actor forgets it all the time. The lead actor will think that they're the genesis of the whole idea. It's screenwriters.
That's kind of what's so spot on about the film, in a way, about your film, is just how they're like, yeah, let's just throw this together. Like, you'll direct it and I'll act in it, and we'll just make it. And that is the Hollywood pioneering spirit that does get stuff done. But it's also just this kind of lunacy.
It's lunacy, loosey-goosey. Yeah.
I kind of want to rewind to your earliest days in the business, back down under. Because one I knew that you'd been in Home and Away, but I had no idea that you were in 363 episodes, man. Like, that's
pretty
incredible.
It's crazy, really. I didn't think I even really knew that until I saw it written online. Um, but it's
I love
really
that.
nuts. Yeah, when I hear it aloud, it's whoa.
Exactly, dude.
Wow.
Dude,
I mean, in the
failing
words
right
of
free.
like Malcolm Gladwell, man, like you put your 10,000 hours in, like in one fucking show, man. That's
Dude,
amazing.
yeah, it's such an amazing training ground, that place. It's this full-time job that there's no room for precious behavior or celebrity weird
Wow.
antics, which so many
Okay.
shows I realize now have a lot of. Yeah, it's a show that home and away you get to you bond, you become friends with everyone on the set. The crew and the cast, you all know each other, and you start to understand what energizes each member of the department
Okay.
and how they become what inspires them. As much, I know what inspires me as an actor. So that was really informative to come to understand. And also, you only really get 2 takes, maybe,
Whoa.
and you're
Okay.
spinning out a lot of dialogue and a lot of exposition. So it's a lot.
You're on your feet, like just like that's
Yeah,
wow.
yeah. It's
You
it's
you
like a
must be
bit of a
good at getting your
sport.
lines down. You
I
must be
was
good at
very
learning
good then.
lines
I
on
don't
that
think
show.
I'm nearly as good as I was then. Maybe it was my youthful mind, but yeah,
Well,
I
it was just
really
sink or
like
swim,
learning
right?
lines. I mean, I enjoy learning lines. I think that's like kind of enjoyable, and I also like to learn them obsessively. Like, I think that an actor should
Okay.
know them backwards almost on a set.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so Kane and I we've sort of dived into our take on just Australian stories, Australian storytellers, and the industry as a whole. And I just sort of wanted to know what your, having sort of started your career down under and then moved to the States, and now you're doing some incredible fucking projects. And we're going to get to Reprisal very soon. But I wanted to know a little more about what the differences are for you, as just as you see it as an actor, a screenwriter, a director, with what we're doing down under versus the City of Angels, the City of Dreams.
The City of Dreams. Yeah, I that's a good question. I think in terms of crew quality, I think the Australian crews that I've worked with are next level, high quality, fast, efficient, and serious. I think it's very crew in Australia are very career based. In that profession, I would say there's
Yes.
a bit more of a casual realm sometimes in some sets here. I think just because there's more available, that you can have a few more people breeze in and breeze out and try their hand on a set. But it's funny working in an American accent more. That's kind of different, and leaning into that vernacular to get your point across, or to not have to repeat yourself just because of the sort of language barrier. So I don't know. I haven't worked in Australia for such a long time. I really am itching to get back, actually. I don't know. I've been thinking so much about Wake in Fright and how amazing that movie is, and just
Dude,
how the
I
landscape
rewatched
is such
that.
a character. It's excellent, isn't
Dude,
it?
I showed that to Hannah for the first time like a
Oh,
week ago.
cool. What'd you
And
think?
she freaked out. She was just like this says
Gnarly.
so much about like this country that I'm from, and it still feels so
Yes.
relevant.
Yes.
Um
And it's from
and
the
you know,
70s. Amazing.
it's like a horror, but it's not, but it feels like a horror.
Mm.
And I don't know, man. And it's told by it's directed by Ted Kotcheff, who did First Blood, the first Rambo film after that.
Oh, copy that. Right.
But
Shit.
Whoa.
he's a Canadian, so
Whoa.
he had the outside perspective, and he had never been to the outback, and he just said as soon as he arrived, he was just so taken with the place and just kind of wanted to go around and research as much as he could, and a lot of what he kind of observed from the second that he landed there is in the film. That film is my favorite Australian film. It's pretty easy to talk about it.
Excellent.
But
Yeah.
it's great. Yeah.
That's
I
awesome.
was just going to say, I just wanted to quickly ask, was Sanctum your last Australian film?
Yes. Yeah, it
Wow.
was
Yeah.
actually. Yeah, it
Yeah.
was. And that, man, yeah. And I shot that when I turned 21 on that movie. So
Wow.
I'm
Wow.
31 now. So that's 10 years. Jesus.
Dude, I remember seeing that in
Wow.
theaters with the 3D glasses on.
Really?
And
real
I came
3D
out being
glasses.
like, yeah. And I remember thinking like, that is the 3D that's going to change the world. Like I was in those caves with those people. I was underwater. It was claustrophobic. It was terrible.
Whoa.
And, it kind of hasn't really been taken up in that way since. Like just
Mm.
the 3D with stories like that, like kind of like immersion stories and submersion stories.
So it's funny you say that. It was utilizing stereoscopic cameras, which he developed essentially, or he pioneered this technology, which, three-dimensional imagery works because you have two images overlaid, one's that's slightly apart from the other, and then you put glasses on and it joins the image, so it sort of looks like you're seeing it from two perspectives, which gives you this sort of forced three-dimensional perspective. So when you have two eyes, like the human does, you're seeing from two different angles, so you're able to kind of construct a three-dimensional image in your brain. When you have stereoscopic cameras, you have two cameras that are shooting simultaneous, and they're basically acting as the left and right eye to the human, and then you have this data that crunches that. It's an incredible amount of data that is being used, especially if, some cameras even shoot on film utilizing this technology, which is crazy to me.
Yeah.
I think Gatsby might have done that, maybe.
They didn't shoot film for most of it, but I remember Cameron was there at Fox when Baz was shooting, and he kind of went.
He was a huge advocate for the tech. Yeah. Like he was really passionate about it, and he, from what I understand, wanted to apply it for the underwater stuff on Sanctum in anticipation of Avatar 2 and 3.
Right.
Because a lot of that is being shot underwater.
Which is yet to come out. Isn't that
Which
insane?
is still yet to come out. I know. And it's crazy because when we were shooting Sanctum, Avatar 1 was released then.
Right.
And it, which is 10 years ago. It's crazy.
I just love that Cameron's just sitting on. He's just building this empire.
I love it. Yeah. He's just like, you know what? I'm just going to make it perfect, and everyone will wait, and we will, and we'll love it still.
He's probably been one of the most important filmmakers in the history of film, and probably out of those guys that you would say are like that, probably the least amount of films made, even though he's obviously made a lot. But
that's quite remarkable.
In terms
you're right.
Pioneers, because he takes the time to get it right, especially in like his kind of later career.
Because I shot Lara Worthington.
Cool.
Formerly Lara Bingle.
Yes.
And I was just like, it was a fashion video, and I only spoke to her about movies. Like,
that's awesome.
To tell me
that's cool.
What's Sam up to? She's like, oh yeah, he just like works like 6-7 days a week down at Manhattan Beach. Like, just like insane, like all green screen or blue screen or whatever it is now.
Yeah, the craft of that must be nuts.
She said like most of it, this is so James Cameron, man. Like most of it is shot underwater.
Wow. Like
that's
actually
what she was saying.
underwater despite being
physical underwater, man.
Cool.
Like, insane.
And
I don't even know what he's planning.
I love that. It's like, see, that's the thing. He always makes the seams invisible. I don't know how he does it, but he makes it impossible. When I'm watching it, I never know how the fuck he pulls it off. But none of us ever do. That's sick that he's shooting it underwater with all the green screen as well. Because I sort of figured maybe he'd just thrown that out, like the actual underwater component, after reading more. But yeah, evidently.
He probably saw Aquaman and was like, no, I'm not doing that. Because Aquaman, I think, created a lot of the underwater stuff, right?
Was there much CG in Reprisal? Just because I watched the trailer, which is so well done. Like, it sucked me right in.
Oh, yeah, the trailer's fun.
But then, like, it just felt like it added layers, like, to the visual story.
Yeah. There's a couple bits and bobs where they've accentuated the world that we were shooting at and sort of added a bit of a neon layer or some lights in the background of a sort of neon little city or gangland world. It's very world building. So, yeah, they've touched up little VFX bits here and there.
And where is it set, the show?
It's set in an imaginary place, some sort of new world America, a different America.
Okay.
And a bunch of gangs have emerged across this kind of strange America that exists now. And our story follows this character, this woman played by Abigail Spencer, Doris, who is
amazing, man.
Yeah, she kills it. She's so good. She's so good in this. And she's on this kind of hell-bent revenge plot to come back and to kill her brother. And I am the leader of one of the gangs that exists in this world, and all of our paths are kind of on a collision course in the same way I would say it's like a rockabilly Game of Thrones in that sense. There are different sets and different worlds. And we're all
Is it like
coming to
Warriors
collide.
in the sense that there's...
It's 100%
Has it got a
like
Warriors
Warriors.
element?
It's very much like Warriors.
Oh.
Which I love that movie. But yeah,
Come
it's
out to
kind of
play.
yeah.
Warriors.
Yeah. It is kind of fun in that sense, you know. I would say my character and his gang are kind of like the Droogs from Clockwork Orange meets. Did I say that right? Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
the
the
Droogs,
Droogs.
isn't it?
Yeah.
Droogs.
Yeah,
Droogies.
Droogs. Yeah.
A bit of Beethoven and ultraviolence.
Yeah, exactly. Oh gosh, that movie is haunting as well.
And you were kind of like saying, like, in a way, it feels like a culmination of everything that you've done thus far. Like, it felt like you had gotten to play this character, role, tone of the show. Everything was kind of really up your alley, and you were like, I can't believe I'm getting paid to do this because this is like a dream job.
Seriously, that's how I really felt about it. I think it's just so unique. You know, when I first read the script, I thought that it was based on a graphic novel or a comic book. I Googled it because I really thought
It
had
has
to have
that
been based.
feeling.
Yeah, which is excellent. And what's super cool is that it was just concocted out of our writer, our creator's vision, Josh Corbin, who's this incredible writer who created it on spec, and he's our showrunner. And
Wow.
just delivers these incredibly textured, interesting scripts with characters that you hit the ground running with. You know, you get no explanation of who they really are. You just sort of have to deal with them and their objectives and their sort of madness. So yeah, I loved it. I just feel so lucky to have been able to work with all those amazing actors. The show's made by Littlefield Company, and who created Fargo and Handmaid's Tale. So they're really clever people. And to be working with Hulu over here is super cool. So yeah, man, I feel really stoked about it.
And where is it going to be streaming, or where is it going to be available here in Australia?
So it's going to be coming to SBS on demand and SBS to watch. Yeah. So it's coming out April 22nd, which I'm excited about. I think all 10 episodes will be available too. Yeah.
Guys, let's get ready for a quarantine binge.
Yeah, exactly. A bit of a binge, a reprisal binge.
Dude, it's been so good to chat, man.
Dude, this was excellent. Thanks for having me. I'm stoked that you guys have started this.
Anyway, man, have a beautiful evening, and
thanks.
Fuck. Yeah,
have a great day, you guys. Yeah, until next time.
Yeah.
It's been a pleasure.